Hey, happy Pride Month. Well, June is over and it's July, but happy Pride Month! So, this is a video I am a bit conflicted about making, for a couple of reasons, but I've decided to make it anyway because I know that it would have been helpful to me, as a younger man, to see a video like it. This is not heavily edited, there's not a lot of production value, I just have a script that I'm reading from, and my little VTube avatar on screen in front of you. But there won't be any visual aids or graphics, you don't need to watch the video, you can just listen to it as audio if you'd like. And yeah, this is not about League of Legends, it is not about Bloodborne, this is personal. And because it is personal, it's going to need some boundaries. The more the subscriber number climbs, the more I become, whether I like it or not, a brand. In a few countries, actually, under the law, because I have 100,000 subscribers, I count as a sort of micro-celebrity, which is a thing I feel weird about, but I've noticed that it happens more and more often that I will see a tweet or a Reddit post or a Tumblr post or whatever very confidently proclaiming what my opinions or beliefs are about a certain subject, even if it's a subject I've never actually expressed a public opinion on. Needless to say, these proclamations are always wrong, and they are wrong, it seems to me, usually because they take the extremely limited picture of my beliefs that you can get from watching some of my videos, and from there they extrapolate to find what seems like a logical conclusion to draw. For example, I often criticize needless sexualization in character design, particularly in female characters, and so I have seen more than a few people confidently proclaim to one another that I hate all sexy female characters, and that I think all sexualization is misogynistic. They extrapolate the most extreme possible position because they're working from an extremely limited picture. Now, this is normal, like when you are any kind of public figure, which weirdly I am, that's gonna happen. That's just how it goes. That's the name of the game. So I'm not complaining about it. No, I'm complaining about it. I am complaining about it a little bit. But the point of me bringing it up is that anytime I say anything about anything, there will be someone who interprets it in the absolute worst possible way. And then they take that bad impression and draw it out to its logical conclusion to paint the worst possible picture. And then they will confidently proclaim to other people that this is an accurate picture of what I said or who I am. When this happens to my opinions about video game characters, it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, that's the way the game's played, I don't like it, but I can accept it, it's not a big deal. But when it's personal, I am not okay with that happening. So we have to draw some boundaries here. And I know that this can get tedious if you're feeling like, dude, are you going to tell us that you're gay or not? Then, yeah, I sympathize, but sorry, we have to go through this first. So, what I'm going to talk about in this video is personal. It is my personal experience, and it is my personal perception and understanding of my experience. I do not speak for or on behalf of anyone else. What I'm about to say does not invalidate anyone else's experiences, it does not invalidate their perspectives, and it is not, I repeat, it is not to be understood as a prescription or a moral opinion about how other people should handle the same topics. I'm also not going to tell you everything. I'm going to pick out a small part of the bigger picture of my life, and I'm going to let you see it, but no matter how tempting it may be, please don't try to extrapolate the full picture from that tiny slice. You don't know the full picture. You don't get to know the full picture. So, I am not about to tell you that I am gay. I am also not about to tell you that I am not gay, because I have decided that unless we are fucking, my sexuality is, broadly speaking, none of your business. I'll tell you my gender. I am male. Am I a cisgender male, though? None of your business. So, with the boundaries established, what is this damn video actually about? Well, I am aromantic. You can call this a coming out moment if you want, although to me it doesn't feel like anything as dramatic as that. So, what the fuck is an aromantic? Well, Like every part of a personal identity, it's a bit complicated and it's a bit of a spectrum. And if you ask 10 people, you're likely to get 20 answers. Here is my answer. I do not fall in love. I do not experience romantic attraction. I don't get crushes. My heart does not flutter when I meet another person's eyes from across a crowded room. I feel no need whatsoever to meet a partner, form a bond, settle down, have a child, or build a family. Basically, any emotional experience that is contingent on romantic love pretty much doesn't happen to me. And you might be thinking, like, what kinds of experiences are you talking about, Skye? And the trouble is, I don't know, because I don't have them. But let me try and make up an example. Say that you and the person who you love the most in the entire goddamn world organize a special date night. You're gonna get dressed up really nice. You're gonna go out to like a lovely restaurant. It's just gonna be the two of you. There's gonna be quiet, romantic music, nice bottle of wine. The whole evening you're talking and you're having fun, and it feels like you're connecting for the first time all over again. After that, you drive out to a quiet place that you know where a perfect sunset rises up over the waters, and you sit there all night just talking, laughing, kissing, and reveling in the wonder of one another's company. So for me, getting dressed up nice and going to a good restaurant, yeah, that sounds cool. Some nice conversation, some nice music, good bottle of wine. Hey, I mean, that sounds like a good time. And I like sunsets. I probably wouldn't mind sitting out waiting for a sunset to come up, and if there's like a nice person there and you can like chat or something, that all the better. Cool. But that's not quite the same thing, is it? To me, this would just be like a pleasant night out with a person whose company I enjoy, but I wouldn't experience any of the parts of the date that are romantic. Like that emotional experience, it simply wouldn't happen to me. And I had to mix together this hypothetical date scenario from cliches and tropes that I see in romance fiction and movies, because that's all I know of what romance feels like. I can piece it together from other people's experiences, but not from my own. So, the obvious question that immediately comes up is, how do you know you're aromantic? Like, maybe you just haven't met the right person. And to be fair, like, that might be true. Like, maybe once this damn pandemic is over, I'm gonna go out to some place and I'm gonna meet a person, and the moment our eyes meet, the heavens will open and choirs of angels will sing, and I will be filled with an ocean of love as pure as any man has ever experienced, and I will know that they are the one for me. Like, I don't know that won't happen for sure. Maybe I am one of the people for whom there is one and only one destined soulmate, and until I find them, I am doomed to be loveless and unfulfilled. But I have walked this desperate earth for 32 years now. 32 years. That's over a third of my expected average lifespan. If it hasn't happened for nearly 32 years, then at this point I feel okay drawing a conclusion from the available evidence. If it didn't happen when I was a barely controlled hormone explosion at 16 years old, I don't think it's gonna happen when I'm a tired-ass 32-year-old adult. Another question that might come up is, well, maybe you're just not the sexuality you think you are. Maybe you need to look at a different group of people to find a partner. And, yeah, I beat you to that idea many years ago, and I checked. And no, it's not that. You might also say, well, maybe you're just a sociopath. Maybe you are a loveless monster. Maybe you have a brain disease. Maybe you're just a narcissist who is incapable of loving anyone but himself. And yeah, I beat you to all of those ideas, too. Which is why I'm making this video, because for a very, very long time, I didn't know that aromantic was a thing that you could be. I assumed I was, for lack of a better word, normal. I assumed I felt romantic attraction. I must, because everyone does, right? So, if as a horny 16-year-old I felt an attraction to a person, well, that attraction must be what love feels like. And when that feeling goes away or the intensity dies down a bit, that must be because I no longer love them. Right? I got into relationships when I was younger. At first, I was just mistaking simple sexual attraction for romance, and then later, I was imagining, I was desperately imagining, I was wanting myself to be in love. I must be in love. I mean, I must be in love because I can feel love, right? I'm not a monster. This is love. This has to be love. It has to be love, and I have to be normal. I'm a normal person. I am not a monster. It should be a surprise to no one that I was a terrible boyfriend. I was worst at first, of course, because not only was I a teenage boy with no relationship experience, I was also confusing horniness for love, which made me act in some fucking idiotic ways and really hurtful ways to my partners. Later on, as my relationships became more and more about reassuring myself that I am not broken, that I am normal, my general behavior improved, but I became emotionally pretty toxic, honestly. I couldn't see these relationships outside of my own needs. I needed the relationships to prove that I was normal. I needed a partner to prove that I was normal. It was like having the right paperwork, you know? The relationship was this object that I needed that proved that I'm normal, but I didn't have any of the emotional investment that a relationship requires to be healthy. And I remember vividly one time, my partner and I were apart for a while. They were going on vacation with their family and they were gone for a couple of weeks. So back home, I just got on with my life as usual. Nothing really changed for me. But every day, they were texting me and calling me, and they told me about what they were doing, the places that they went out to eat, the things they saw. They asked me about my day and how I was doing and did I miss them. And I wasn't being an asshole. I wasn't dismissing them or brushing them off. I was responding, and yes, of course, I miss you, and I'm telling you how I'm doing. But I was never the one to send the first text. I was never the one who called, because I didn't feel a need to. And I remember worrying about them. I thought maybe the vacation wasn't going so well because they kept interrupting the vacation to text me and call me. And I thought if the vacation was going well, they would just forget about me. They'd just get absorbed in having a good time and they'd forget about me for a couple of weeks, right? That's the normal thing to do, right? And I remember thinking that it was weird that they were being so clingy. And I look back at that now and I kick myself. They weren't being clingy, you idiot. They were in love with you. They wanted you to be part of their experiences. They wanted to share their life with you. And I feel so bad that this person put all these feelings into a relationship that I couldn't see them. I didn't know the shape of them. I didn't know how to return them. Now, that relationship ended amicably. We agreed to split up and we're on good terms. And as far as I know, they don't regret the relationship or feel that I was neglectful or anything. That's what they've told me anyway. But I want to be clear here. Being aromantic is not an excuse to be a bad partner. I was, to various degrees, a terrible boyfriend in the relationships that I've been in, and that's on me. I am responsible for my actions, and I'm responsible for the ways that I have hurt people. I'm not here to make excuses. But what I can't help but think is, if I had known that there is a word for my experience, that the ways that I feel, the way that my emotions work, the way that I relate to people, that's not just me, that other people feel this too, that this is a way that a person can be, that I don't need relationships as paperwork to prove that I am normal, because I am normal, then there's some people in the world who I wouldn't have hurt. There are years of my life that I would not have spent being afraid of my own feelings, trying to prove to myself that I'm someone other than who I am. And I think maybe, if I'd seen a video of someone talking about what being aromantic is like, then I don't know, maybe it would have helped. Maybe I would have realized it sooner. I don't know, but for Pride of 2021, I'm making one. I don't know if it's going to help anyone, but, it's worth a shot. I didn't have a big realization that I'm aromantic. There was no big dramatic moment, no grand reveal. I had realized, eventually, that I just didn't seem to fall in love the way other people do. And I had all these sort of vague explanations for myself that, oh, it's probably because I struggle with depression, or it's my anxiety, or maybe it's just that my Myers-Briggs type's incompatible with my astrology. Like, I was making up excuses left and right, and I was just trying not to think about it. I hadn't had a relationship at that point for, I think, 5 or 6 years. I was trying so hard not to think about it. And then I encountered the term aromantic. It was probably on Tumblr. And I was like, oh, hey, that's a thing. Oh, that's weird. I think for a couple of years, I wasn't even really thinking that this could apply to me. I had invented so many excuses for myself that I was like, no, I'm definitely romantic. My brain's just weird. I haven't met the right person or astrologers. But one day I'll be fixed. I'll be fixed and I'll be normal one day. And it just happened over time that, like, slowly, like, sometimes I'd read something from other aromantic people, like how they felt or how their lives were, and really slowly, the pieces came together and I began to realize that, oh, hey, wait, no, this is kind of me, actually. And one day, I just decided to say it to myself. I am aromantic. That's why it's been this way. That's why. There's a reason for it, and it's normal. And you don't have to make up excuses anymore. And I wish I could say that it was like a huge relief and a weight flew off my chest and everything got better immediately, but life is, in my experience, rarely that simple. It took a long time to internalize the idea and really understand it as a part of myself, but now, in hindsight, yeah, I do feel relief. I do feel a lot better, and there's so much time I don't have to spend anymore trying to rationalize myself. And that is pretty fucking invaluable, honestly. So, to close this out, I'm gonna go over some questions that I think people might have and try and, like, give you some general information about the aromantic identity. But again, I really want to stress this. I am one person, and I am not an expert. I'm not an expert on human sexuality. I'm not an expert on human romantic orientations. If you really want to know more, I recommend that you seek out actual aromantic communities and organizations because they will know a lot more than I do. But I'm gonna do the best that I can here. So, first, aromantic versus asexual. Now, I know that these two often go together. You will find plenty of people who are both aromantic and asexual, and they will often refer to themselves as aro-ace, which, by the way, is probably the coolest name for an orientation. Aro-ace. Sounds like it should be like a character on Top Gun. But not every asexual person is aromantic. Plenty of them want romantic relationships, they just don't want the sex part. And plenty of aromantic people are still very much sexual. I'm one of them. I can't tell you anything about what it's like to be asexual, so please don't ask me about that because I don't have that experience. Second, being aromantic is a spectrum. And like everywhere else in LGBTQIA+ culture, there are 1,000 different micro-labels that describe 1,000 different kinds of aromantic experiences, like aro-ace, aro-allo, aro-flux, aro-spike, demi-romantic, frey-romantic, grey-romantic, lither-romantic, nebula-romantic, platonic-romantic, qua-romantic, recipro-romantic, and I don't know what most of these terms mean. Like, I really don't. And personally, I just identify myself as aromantic, but for some aromantic people, maybe they feel some romantic feelings under some circumstances, but not all of them. Maybe some people feel parts of romantic attraction, but not other parts. There's a lot of variety. It's a spectrum. And my experience is not normative. Like, it's possible to be aromantic and experience that very differently than I have. So again, seek out more perspectives than just this one YouTube gamer man. Third, can aromantic people have relationships? And the answer to that is yes, we can. Plenty of aromantic people have relationships that just pretty closely mimic what you would consider a romantic partnership. Like, they might live with someone, share rent, share expenses, hold hands in public, have sex, have pets together. Some aromantic people will appear, for all intents and purposes, to be in a romantic relationship, but if you ask them about that, they will say that they are not. And that can be pretty confusing. It can be confusing that it seems so much like it should be a romantic relationship, but they'll just say, nah, no, it's not. But it's like that romantic date story I made up earlier in their video, right? There's a lot of nice benefits to having a relationship arrangement with someone. There's a lot of practical benefits, like sharing expenses or getting cheaper insurance, and there can be emotional benefits too. Just because we're aromantic doesn't mean we're hermits. We can enjoy and benefit from the long-term company of other people. Personally, I have anxiety problems, and living with someone else, which I do, having another person around, it helps me with that. It helps a lot. And if you don't mind that we are not in love with you, us aromantic people can make perfectly decent partners. Not for a romantic relationship, obviously, that's a terrible idea, but if you want like a really solid friend with benefits who's not gonna catch feelings and who's never gonna get jealous, hey, we're available. Anyway, that's about all I had to say, I think. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments, but just know that I am not going to answer any personal questions. The personal stuff that I've told you in this video, that's all you're gonna get. And if you want to ask any general questions about being aromantic, I can't promise you an answer. I only really know my own experience, and you're much better off looking up aromantic and general LGBTQ groups for more information. Anyway, thank you for watching, I guess. Thank you for listening. Thank you to my Patreon supporters, as always. And as I always do, I will ask you to try, when you can, to act in solidarity with those who are less fortunate than yourself.